Hello, this is a tutorial on how to make a good Sonic icon, the ones that I create usually. So the first step to making a Sonic evergreen or a simple Sonic icon, take a good reference of a posture and pose the character in that certain way. So I have got this interesting looking posture here. I haven't used this before. I just Googled it and this came up. And I'll try to mimic this and maybe make a few changes if I see fit. So I'll go ahead and start posing it. We have this 3D model. This is a high poly 3D model. This should be provided to you by Javid or anyone who's working with you. So yeah, I'll start posing it. So this is the general pose done. It's a bit rough, but I think it fits. I think it fulfills its purpose for the tutorial. I'll go ahead and move on to the next step, that is lighting. And for lighting, I'm using Octane, so you just pop in some Octane lights, some Octane targeted lights. So just select this, actually normal lights. So Octane light, just place it behind the character like this. Make it, face towards the character. So directly behind the character. And one more light here. So two lights behind the character. If I go ahead and render this, it will show like this. So I'll be using an HDRI for the lighting setup as well. So HDRI, obviously, I will provide as well. So I'll use this one. It's a free HDRI from HDRI Heaven, Paul Loeb. So I'll go ahead and put this in. And yeah, I'll rotate the HDRI. So the brighter side of the HDRI is behind Sonic. So next step is the settings, Octane settings, and path tracing. Always path tracing. 500 samples are good enough. And I basically leave everything as is except alpha channel. So this will make the background transparent, and uncheck keep environment. And the next step is camera imager. This ACES tone mapping, it will help with really bright daylight environments, but this one is not a bright environment, so I'll leave that off. Basically, nothing else needs to be changed. And for the lights, I'm selecting both of these. I'll pop in a RGB spectrum light, RGB spectrum shader in both of them. So I'll make it blue, so it casts a blue rim light effect. So as you can see, there's blue on the edges of Sonic. Okay, so and the next step is make it invisible as well, so lights don't show. So just in this visibility tab, just disable camera visibility. Okay, and yeah, just gonna adjust the lights a bit more. The framing is done. I did that in posing. So yeah, just a camera imager, low FOV. You can adjust the FOV from these sliders, these handles. So something lower value usually gets the job done for me. The next step would be to render this, I think. Let me fix this mouth thing. It is the mouth here. Yeah, so just gonna drag it out a bit. Okay, it fixed. And one thing to keep in mind is these eyes are casting small shadows. This should be disabled. You can disable it by just right clicking this and going to extensions here, extensions, C4D extensions, Octane object tag. So just select this and object layer. No, visibility, shadow visibility, disable it. It will remove these shadows. So like, obviously eyes don't have shadows, so yeah. And Sega usually asks us to remove the shadows too from the eyes. The model isn't perfect, but we'll be editing it in Photoshop to make it much better. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and render this out. Yeah, there are some issues here as well, as you can see, some weight issues. The model needs some fixes that we will do in Photoshop. Okay, I'll go ahead and render this. Wait, first, before rendering, I'll make the exposure a bit higher. 1.5, I think, will be good. Yeah, okay. Oh, and one more thing. All the materials, select all the materials. Just, I've upped the specular in all of them to max, and roughness is 0.5 on all of them. And I think I'm gonna add some sheen too. Sheen gives a bit of extra highlight, the white highlights on the edges. Without sheen, it's not making much of a difference, but when we use it along with the Photoshop technique, it will produce good results. So I'm gonna go ahead and render this. Oh, and I am rendering this in 2000 by 2000. I'll make it smaller, but rendering it in this size gives us a bit of freedom when compositing, when changing the composition in post, in Photoshop. I just enable this, use denoise beauty pass, and denoising is enabled here as well. Denoiser, denoise on completion. Oh, actually, I forgot to enable denoise. Let me do that. So enable denoise as well. When you're rendering in 500 samples, it's a must to enable denoise. It will just make rendering really quick. Once it's rendered, I'll go ahead and save it real quick. Go ahead and open it in Photoshop. Pop a darker background in. Most Sonic evergreens have a darker background, so that's the usual style we go with. Okay, so I'll add, so the background is in. I'll go ahead and make the size smaller. 1000 by 1000 is good. I rendered this in 2000 by 2000, but I'll be making it smaller because it doesn't need to be 2000 by 2000. So I'll just convert this to a smart object, and just make it smaller like this. Okay, so I've placed it in the center of the icon. Hold on. Okay, center. Next step would be to apply the camera raw filters. Camera raw filters. I'll up the exposure. I'll up the contrast a bit. 30 may be good. Clarity. Texture. More exposure. More vibrance. And noise reduction. Color noise reduction. Bit more color mixer. I'll adjust this a bit. And more saturation to here, and maybe here as well. Actually, no. Okay. Just adjust these values a bit. More clarity, I think. Okay, I think this is good. I might adjust it later. Yeah, maybe a bit more exposure. These icons need to be really vibrant and saturated, but not overdone, so it needs to look good on the Roblox page. I think this is good. And the next step would be to add a bevel. No, not bevel. An outer glow, a blue outer glow. So the Sonic glows a bit. Yeah, and then we can do the background. For the background, I just pop a few smoke assets. I think I'll provide that as well. Oh, let me find it. Okay, so I'll be using these smoke assets. Let me, yes, I'm gonna just select and copy paste it in the background, make it smaller. So it slightly looks like he's flying, dust is flying behind him. And color overlay, something to blue. I think blue, a bluish background will probably look good, and less opacity on it, maybe a bit more. And I'll just go ahead and grab another smoke, this one, and put it almost, make it cover the whole background almost. So the background has some kind of texture, same color, but a lot less saturation. I mean, a lot less opacity. So yeah, that's the background basically done. Just do a bit more color grading on it. Yeah, that might be good. I think set uh, more exposure on Sonic would be good. So I'm just gonna add a bit more. Okay, next is fixing up the model. This model has a lot of issues. I hope this gets updated. The marketing model. Hold on, let me save this. So until that's fixed, we have to manually fix these by just clicking on edit here, edit contents. It will take you to here. So the first thing I'm seeing is this random line appearing. Just go ahead and delete that. I'll duplicate the layer so I can go back to the original render if I make a mistake. So yeah, so I'm gonna be working on the duplicated layer. So the first thing I'll change or fix is the ears. They're looking a bit low poly, like these sharp edges. I don't think Saga likes that, so I'm gonna uh, create create a better shape using the pen tool. As you can see, I'll make the rounded edges for it, like so, and boom. And then I'm going to go in path and click this button, so it will select the shape I created using the pen tool. I'll pick the smudge tool, 100% strength. Actually, maybe 70 is good. 70% strength, a decent size. So I can just do this. I'll drag it and fill the shape in like so. And I'll press Ctrl J to make a new layer for this ear. So the ear is in a new layer as well. I do this to add a shadow in it, so it has a sense of depth. Inner shadow and black shadow, yeah. Just gonna adjust it a bit so it looks natural. Okay, so I'm gonna increase the inner shadow a bit more actually, and then do the same thing on this ear, but maybe not the inner shadow because the angle is in such a way that shadow might not be visible. We'll try it. Okay, we'll probably try it. Let's see. So rounded edges, same as the previous ear. It's a bit different. And I think that should be good. select it, same as before. Using the smudge tool, we will make it fill it in completely. Control J, inner shadow. No, probably doesn't work. Yeah, I'm not liking it, so remove the inner shadow. And I think it's a tad bit uh, bending weirdly as well here, so I'm gonna fix this as well. Just gonna do this. Select it, and then using the smudge tool, fill this in so it doesn't look weird or bended. So yeah, now it looks nice and straight. Next would be, I think this part. This part needs to be, let me show you, it's hard to explain. So you're just gonna create a shape like this, select it, remove this weird bulge maybe. Yeah. So this is fixed, and then this area, it looks quite flat. It needs to look like an eyebrow. So the eyebrows is a bit popping out. So I'm just gonna use the pen tool again, make a eyebrow shape here. Yeah, I'm gonna do this and eyebrow shape done. Okay, so yeah, right click, fill path, fill with color, and just pick a color from here maybe, yeah, and done. So delete this path and filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, so just a bit blurry, so it looks like an eyebrow. And I think I'm going to decrease the opacity a bit. Yeah, I think this might look good. When I press Control S, it will apply the changes here. So before, after, before, after. As you can see, we have already fixed a lot of things. Next would be fixing this area. It has a line here that this model for some reason doesn't. So I'll just go ahead and fix that. Fix it by just using the smudge tool again. Most of these fixes are done using the smudge tool. So yeah, I'll just hold and drag it up like so. And yeah, I think this is good. I'll make a bit of a this thing, this part. We're trying to create this part. So yeah, I'll make it a bit roundy, like as it's going up. Okay, I think this might be a bit too low. Okay. I believe that fixes it. Let me check in the original model. Yeah, I think this is looking fine. Maybe a bit more this from here. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, okay. So next would be adding a glow or a shine on this nose. The original, as you can see, has this shine that we don't have. Okay, so I'm gonna add this shine as well. Just using the brush tool, white color. Yeah, just gonna click this, bigger maybe. Just gonna click once, Control T, and hold on. Yeah, just gonna stretch it like this. think that looks good. Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe a bit smaller. Okay. Next thing would be to fix these arms, I think. Yeah, arms. Let's do arms. Same method, just create the rounded shape, the shape that Sega likes a lot. Okay, just make this. Right, select it like before. Smudge tool, and yeah, I would consider this fixed. The hand has a lot of issues, as you can see, but I think I'll come back to that a bit later. Both hands have a lot of issues. Okay, so I'm gonna fix the spikes first. Spikes have these little things that needs fixing, and this part looks a bit low polyish. So I'll just use the smudge tool again and smudge this area up a bit. All these areas. This one too. I'll leave that as is. This. Click and shift click here, so to get a straighter line. And yeah, bigger smudge tool. This area needs to be removed completely. I mean, smudged completely. Then I'll fix this rounded spike. It's rounded for some reason. It needs to be spiky. So I'll add the spike round. I'll make the spike sharp, like so. Create the shape, select, and then use the smudge tool. So now it's spiky. Control S. Let's see our changes. And this area isn't looking too good, I think. I'll adjust this a bit more, but maybe this one too. Oh, and by the way, I have removed almost all the purple in camera raw filter, so you probably would want to do that as well. So I'm just gonna select it, choose the brush tool, and continue the white thing, the white shading, the white highlights. I'll just draw them in myself. Yeah, like this. Uh, Let me use the smudge tool here. Bit more white here, so the texture, so the highlight continues. More highlight here at the end. Oh, okay, let's see how this is looking. Yeah, this will probably work for now. Let me increase the glow a bit more so it's more visible. Okay, I think this is good. Okay, next would be fixing this ear part maybe. Let me quickly adjust this. It's gonna click here and shift click here. Let's make it a bit blurry. It looks kind of off as it is. Okay, I'll move on to the hands now. First thing I'm noticing is how weirdly this texture is behaving. Let me quickly round that up a bit more and fix this texture thing. Just round this up by creating the shape again. And add and use the smudge tool. Like so. I'll hold Control Shift and I for inverting the selection. So the selection is now inverted. I'll add a bit of shadow here so it looks a bit more natural. Yes, shadow this up. I think that's good. Yep. And now I'm gonna fix these weight issues. These are caused by the rig's weight issues. So the weights are still assigned with the model as low poly, but the model itself is high poly. So when you bend the limbs, it kind of converts back to low poly. Not sure if I explained that correctly, but should be understandable. Anyways, let me fix these individual things by using the same methods. Create a shape, mostly using the smudge tool to smoothen things out. That is not looking good. Just do this. Okay, so this is fixed. Kind of. I think it's good enough. Just gonna fix this a bit more here as well. Rounding this off a bit. This thing too. It's coming from this hand, this finger. I'll round this finger as well. Okay, I think that's good. So let me go ahead and save this, apply the changes, and this was the hand before, and after the edits it looks like this, a lot smoother. I think it's still not completely perfect, but I think it serves the purpose for the tutorial. Now gonna fix this hand. This is gonna round this shape off. Okay, this needs a bit of fixing. It's looking a bit funky here. Rounding off this part completely because it looks really bad. And the other fingers are looking a bit low poly as well. I'll round all of them off. A few more issues here. smudging this area so it doesn't look low poly, looks a bit smooth. And yeah, this finger as well. Okay, this part. All right, so let's see our changes here. This was it before, after, before, after. Okay, I think that's good. Now the shoes. Let me quickly fix this area. Looks very strange. Anything looking strange needs to be fixed. Selected. Smudge tool. Same thing as before. No, 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 no. Just gonna do a bit of shading as well. Some dark shading. So it looks a bit more natural. Darker than this. Is good enough? I think so. This area looks a bit strange as well. Matter stranger. Lots of trial and error sometimes. Okay, let me smudge this a bit more. Think that's fine. Legs have these issues, so let me just smudge this. Easily fixed, nice. And maybe here as well. I'll fill this up. Select, easy peasy. And there's an issue, so I'll smudge this. Maybe this too. Okay, let's see. Did I miss anything? This needs to be fixed as well. Extended the reflection here, so it looks more goldish. I might color correct this as well. Okay, let me color correct this. I'll go ahead and select all of the yellow parts with the pen tool. Pen tool is really useful for selecting. And masking out objects too. It's much more accurate than the magic wand or anything else. It's not quick though. Okay, so select it. Just press Ctrl J so it's in a new layer. I'll go ahead and add curves. Use previous layer to create clipping mask. Increase the brightness. Decrease this thing. I think this is the shadows area of the curve. Okay, so I'll just create this kind of curve. Use saturations. Create clipping mask. Make it more orangish maybe. Yeah, I think that's good. Looks a lot more reflective as well. So I'll save this. Let's see how it looks. It does not look good. Let me decrease the curves a bit. It's too bright. Control S again. So this was the original, and this is what we have now. Much better, I think. It still might need more fixes. Sega might not approve of this either, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix the roundness of his belly as well, of his chest and belly. He just has one big belly, no chest. Okay, yeah, this is good probably. Create the shape as always. Select and just use the smudge tool to fill it in. And boom. I think that's all the changes, all the fixes. I can notice a few issues here, so I'll just go ahead and fix. Okay. I think that's all I can see. There might be more. I don't see them right now. And Sega usually always asks for changes, even if you fix everything mentioned here. So I'm gonna save this back to the icon. We have good glow, I think. We have good background, we have a good posture. And it doesn't really have anything in the background, so most evergreens I usually do have some kind of background, like this ring I added here, like it's going through a ring, and this one has a background. So there are several things you can do with it. This is just a basic one. I created this one a few weeks ago, and it has electricity in the background, lightning in the background. So there are lots of things you can do to make the icon more interesting. So definitely try things out, and I will go ahead and finish this up. Just make a new layer, Control Shift Alt plus E to merge all these layers in a new separate layer. Filter, convert for smart filters, and I'm just gonna do one more camera raw filter at the end to finish it up for the final touches. Increase the exposure a bit, increase contrast, clarity. Yeah, I think I'm liking the more clarity. Yeah. Yeah, makes it look really high quality. I've increased it all the way up, a bit more vignetting. Let's decrease this value. And yeah, I think this is good. We will. The next step would be to submit this to Sega, and Sega will probably ask for more changes. And most of these changes will be fixed using this same technique. Just create a shape and use the smudge tool. If there's some geometry not smooth, you can use the smudge tool to smooth it out, like we did with this hand. And yeah, that's probably it. I'll go ahead and save this. Just save this as an icon. And I think this concludes this tutorial. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly at chuchufashtag2004. This is my Discord. You can ask any questions you like. I try to reply to all of them, to all my DMs. And have a nice day. Take care.